morning. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Live in the Rise. This is your new Love City's Bachelorette, and I am coming on for some powerful words of communication to the righteousness of all righteous that some call God, some call Jah, and that one is a saving grace. That one is the powerful, sacrificial of all humanity for comfort and not to harm, for joy and not to make sad, for protection and not for destruction, right? That one came to give life and give it an abundance of prosperity. Now, in this time, for me, everyone knows my dad passed in the year before. This is a year that my dad has passed. And now my mom is in the hospital. And I spoke with her yesterday. And she answered her phone. You know, phone is there with her. And didn't sound comfort. It sounds that she's in pain. And it saddened me because that's your mom, you know. You don't want to see your mom in pain. It has been 2 nights. So 2 nights. Thanks for joining. Like the video, subscribe to this channel. It's a very good feel vibes channel, and it's a truth-telling channel where I come on and I talk about the word. So we're going to get into the word. The word. And we're going to get into the verse of the day. Verse of the day. Verse. Verse of the day. Verse. Verse of the day. Verse. Verse of the day. Okay, let's get the verse of the day. I had my other phone in the other room. Okay, let's see. So the verse of the day today is coming from Romans. Romans chapter 1, verse 16. Yeah, verse 16. And the scriptures are sacred books that were passed down and translated and translated and translated. So a lot of the message may have been lost in the translation. You know, things get lost in translation. They do. Because people's last names get lost in translation. Different areas and islands and inlets get lost in translation when the people, local inhabitants, would tell the researchers, this is the name of this place. They would write it down, how they hear it sound, and they would sometimes get it wrong. So, in that, with that knowledge, I have been compelled to look at using the English language of words in positives, finding positive words to use. And it's interesting because someone was doing that as a game, as a actual game. They would look in the dictionary and they would find words that are positive and highlight those positive words and discuss the words that they've highlighted, and to see if who got the same words. And they would start at anywhere, I guess, in the dictionary. But this is a good activity because it gives and it forces the intentionality of word usage and the power that words have. And my mom, I seek for her comfort and her comfort, to be comforted, that the comforter may come and give her comfort her, and give her the strength to be alive, and to be strong, to be alive. So in that, the verse of the day, coming from Romans chapter 1 verse 16, speaks of not being ashamed. I am not ashamed of the words that I use, that are positive. And when we use the words, my bad, okay, we are turning the words against ourselves. And we become that we speak. Whereas when we are standing in the word of, according to Romans, the gospel, that's looking at the sacred words of the Christ, one that was, sacrificed for the humanity, and showing how you are praised one day and then you are crucified the next day. So when people want to lift you up publicly, like in a public way, I stand up. I'm like, people want to, we want to give you this award, we want to, you're doing this in the community. I'm like, I'm aware about that, because we have to find the balance within ourselves, to stand within ourselves for positive word sound. That's power. Our powers have been taken away in so many ways. We don't even realize it till we turn around and we're like, what? You're in a box. And then you're going to realize that. It's so, our powers have been taken away. We have to take and return the powers to ourselves. Not harming anyone, not brutalizing, not vandalizing, not scandalizing. We are up in the rise. That's why I call this show Live in the Rise. And as your new Love City Bachelorette, you got to go to Patreon to see that show. My Bachelorette show. You have to become a member. So, and there's videos I'm going to post about who I've decided to, choose as my person. And it's, in August, it's going to happen. So, I stand in the word, And when I'm greeted with positive words, I'm attracted to that, right? I'm attracted to that. It's more than the physical. So in Romans chapter 1 verse 16 speaks about this word and not being ashamed of the word, because the word is the power of righteousness. That's God, the power of God that brings salvation to everyone that believes or that knows. You got to have that knowledge. Knowledge is power. And in that power, it comes through your words, the words that you speak. The words that you speak. Speak words of uplifting. Speak words of thankfulness. Speak words of humility. Speak words of integrity. So in Romans chapter 1 verse 16, the righteousness of righteous brings salvation to everyone that knows that. And it's first given to the Jew. It speaks of first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. And in that we have been confused. That's why there's war in the Middle East. That's why there's a confusion, because there was a lie that was spread all throughout humanity. And the first is going to be last. When you put yourself first, lying to put yourself first, you will be last. So when you are last, don't fuss and cuss about it, but look to yourself, you know what? I'm last now, but I'm going to be first later on. And it is important in that humility. That's where that comes from. The idea of being humble and not fuss and cuss. I call it fussing and cussing. The powerful word of Romans should resonate with everyone today, as it's translated in the righteousness of righteous with the words that are English. I'm speaking English. However, I have not used any word that has been negative, right? As Romans chapter 1 verse 16. We have a not in there. I am not. That's a negative. I am blessed for the word. I'm not ashamed or not. I will not. Being shame is away from me. Because of the word. And that word is power. And that's why we have secret societies of Messianic groups, because they use the word in their incantational gatherings. The Ku Klux Klan did it. They did it too. And when they did it in ways that were destructive. They burned a cross in your lawn. They lynched you from a tree. These things happened. And that's just what the reality is. I didn't make it up. So Romans is getting deep into talking about Jew and Gentile. And the confusion has been that because the world has turned the right into wrong and wrong into right. And it's confusing children, because children are now coming and using language that is negative and not fruitful. So the power of the word in Romans resonates strength, and it resonates what we all should be standing in righteousness. That's why I speak of standing in love. Standing in love means you are standing in your word. In your word to love yourself, take care of yourself, be an independent self in the unity of loving someone else. And when they have to leave or go away, that love is still there in the foundational sense of the word. Love. Because love does as love is as love does, some people speak about. And what that means is there's a defining action behind that love. It's not just I love you and then I'm going to go find someone else, lay up with them, go out with them, date them, look for other people, it's not going to be that. So in time we find ourselves, and there's rain falling right now, and I hold my mom in righteousness, that she's comforted in the hospital at this time. And hospitals are places I don't like to venture into, because they're just places of disease, sickness, death, dead bodies. It's just that. And I have to be strong in that for her, to send out those positive, comforting, put your arms around me type of words. And as we go to our daily word of the day, let's see where that is. So that was Romans.
It's the word of the day. 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 Word of the day. Word of the day.
So the word of the day today is brought to us by, we're going to go right from Romans chapter 1 verse 16 into Philippians chapter 4 verse 7. And Philippians chapter 4 verse 7 speaks of this tranquility, this comfort that comes from above. That is the righteousness of righteous. That powerful strength embodies and gives a sensibility of mind, of compassion. And that love that comes from above, that's why it's above love. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you. That love that comes from above surpasses all. Surpasses all. Blessed Grand Rise, J Dove. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you so much for being a top fan. Thanks so much. We are sending words, positivity to my queen mother, that she's not in any pain and suffering, but that she's comforted in the hospital, recovering, and is going to return better and brighter. So Philippians chapter 4 verse 7, we're looking at this tranquility. It's called peace, and I look at tranquility, and that's the word understanding. And I told someone that. I said, I understand, and meaning that I stand in love with you with righteousness. So when we use the word understand, we are standing with that person in whatever they are going through. And we're standing first with the righteousness of righteous that gives us that strength to stand with that person. So I understand is a powerful word. And as Philippians chapter 4 verse 7, the tranquility of righteousness surpasses all understanding, all standing in love. It surpasses that. So I think of that and I speak to myself, what will I choose? Will I choose to be single for another year? I've been single for a year, or do I stop being single and say yes to someone? And we'll find out on my Patreon. So stay tuned. That's just a little plug. But Philippians chapter 4 is what the word of the day is supported by. And that tranquility of righteousness surpasses all understanding, all standing firm, all stands of knowledge, all of it. Tranquility surpasses that. The tranquility of the righteousness of righteous surpasses all understanding. And that tranquility is going to guard your hearts, because your heart now is in love with God, in love with something higher than your selfishness or your selfish wants and desires of yourself, and transition now to a higher desire of tranquility that surpasses all, according to Philippians, surpasses all understanding. That's going to keep your heart and your mind in righteousness, or keep your heart and your mind right. This is your heart and your mind. It's going to keep it right. Yes. So, yeah, TM, tranquility through meditation. I love it. So, in that meditative state and levels of awareness, because it's not a con game, it's an awareness within. Anyone else looking at it differently is looking at it from their lens. Thus, they will see it in their way. You have to stand strong to keep your way as a ongoing lifestyle, an ongoing presence. And within that ongoing presence, there is a need for you to maintain what you've been given as a divine being. We have lost that within humanity. And, there are and there will be this knowledge of who we are, what we are, and where we need to be. So I practice understanding and find peace according to the language here. I practice standing firm in righteousness. Therefore, I will find tranquility. So that's how I translate the word to become a living word. Okay? And sometimes people don't speak in the living word because they're eating dead things. So what you put into you is what's going to come out. So when you put in dead, what's going to come out is dead. And what is dead is no words. You're mute. You don't speak. You shake your shoulders, shuck your head. This is the gestures that you give. There's no words. And communication is language. Language is communication. And language is words. Words that signify a fullness of the individual speaking that word and learning that word. And when we teach children words, we have to remember when they listen to us talking, we are teaching them words. And that's why it's important for me to have adults who work with me able to communicate language to the children and speak with them, engage with them, give them feedback about what they're working on in using language. Okay? So the word today speaks this. Today I will stop turning things over in my mind, trying to understand the whys and hows of what is before me. Okay? Instead, I release all that troubles me and turn to God. So I went looking at the public library. I drove up there to see whether it was open, what's going on. And it wasn't. There was a sign on the door. So I proceeded to go down the stairs and around the library and saw an atrocity of beyond words. And I can't even post it on Facebook. It's so embarrassing. So anyway, I walked around and I went in to the children's library, and there sitting was a young lady sitting at the desk, and she said to me, and I said, and they know who I am. They're from DPNR. That's the government entity that runs the public libraries, museums, and archives. DPNR, Department of Planning and Natural Resources. And they look at natural resources as the archives, libraries, and museums. DLAM. So anyway, the lady said to me, she said, you smell like smoke. And I was like, what is she talking about? You smell like smoke. I'm allergic to, and I was like, what? So when she said that, it reminded me of when I worked there at the library, and they said I need to remove my personal paraphernalia. They called my my dad's carvings, rest in love, Dad. My dad's carvings and other artifacts, paraphernalia. And I said, what is it doing that? Oh, because they know I subscribe to the teachings of His Majesty. And I the teachings of Haile Selassie I, and I celebrate that. I celebrate his birthday, July 23rd, the Ethiopian New Year, September 11th. So people are like, oh, you Rasta, da 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 da. Anyway, so they discriminated in that way towards me. And not just for that, but my sexual identity. It was just a whole thing, a lot of things. My speaking out. So when I saw this makeshift compartment of a homeless person, anyway, they got the homeless person out, but the thing is still there. I'm not going to post the picture. The lady said, I smell like smoke. And I said, wow. I said, maybe it's my Jeep, because my mom was saying my Jeep smelled like gasoline, or my Jeep is smoking. The smoke is coming out of my Jeep, in other words. So I said, that must be my Jeep, it's smoking, because it's overheating and you could smell it. Anyway, it I wasn't disrespectful or anything. I just walked inside the children's library. She thought I was going to leave and walk out, but I walked in. I walked in and I went up and spoke to the lady, a nice young woman, who has been hired to work in the library. She said, "I'm not a librarian. I'm not a librarian, and I don't have a degree in library." She said, "I know you do," and she was so sweet because I know her, and she has an assistant. And when she spoke to me and said she doesn't have a degree, she's a white lady. Okay, she's Caucasian, she's white, and her assistant is black, a black woman. And when I was the librarian, I was working there. I was getting my library degree. Anyway, I got to be in the library yesterday, went there, and the troubles that I have, I turn it to the one above. And the one above has the power and the authority. And I went, and when I went into the library, she said that she's finding all kinds of pictures, because this is the people's library. These are archival documents, pictures of me when I was a little girl growing up. They took pictures of me and my sister. It's like someone had us in a magazine, for crying out loud. So anyway, it's like, what? And now, returning here, seeing the white supremacy has reached its supremacy on this island, from Jeffrey Epstein to this, okay? And it makes me weep, because the righteousness of righteous is watching over. So I release all the troubles and tears to the righteous of righteous, because our ancestors are weeping because they've stolen like colonizers. They've come in like colonizers, and they've stolen stuff out of the library. Yeah, they've taken things. They've moved things to different offices and just pillaged the people's stories. And the only remorse that people have is to point the finger. And say she's instead of looking at themselves. Will they volunteer their time and work with children in the summer? Would they do that? I do it. I don't get a salary. I have to have a side job to support me and my family. Yes, I have a family. So in that space, we see people love. Love is as love does. And I do. I do. And one day, hey, Teddy Fire is in the room, and top fans are returning. How are you? So we as a people must look at ourselves and know that when we go to sleep, you know you're doing the best you can for children. Sarah on The View, I have a clip of Sarah on The View, on ABC, The View, talking about the pedophiles who are hurting children, We even have an organization, Men Who Love Boys. That's a real thing. And they go after little boys. Anyway, these things trouble me, and I turn it to the righteous of righteous. I don't take it into my own hands and go out there and do that. I'm John Lennon, let it be. Let just leave people where they are. You keep on doing the good works. So, in the word today, understanding. I am not going to go under the stand. I'm going to stand in love above and seek there, seek for what's above. So taking a step away and letting go of rumination brings tranquility even before I have the understanding I seek. You know, you seek to want to know, you seek to want to understand why people do the things they do, why, you know, people don't talk to you and instead they talk behind you. You take a step away and letting go of the rumination, you know, it brings you tranquility. So when we talk about rumination, it's thinking about something, thinking about something too much, and people do that. They think too much about something. You have to let go. That's going to bring you tranquility. So as I let go here on this live and wept, you know, for the ancestors, as they weep for us, I weep for them because their information is stolen and locked up inside of a building. And it's a disarray of a horrible mess. So I'm going to let that go. And I begin by realizing that God is in the midst of it all. Even circumstances that are messy and incomplete. This public library is messy and incomplete. We need new leadership. We have an absentee landlord. When you have an absentee landlord and you don't have management that is in living where they're working, you're gonna have issues. So we have this happening here on the island, and white supremacy is in the forefront because, you know, white is basically what is respected and, you know, like, so I have some white friends. They may be white, but they want to support what I'm doing, and they have been supporting what I'm doing. White women, okay? And it oftentimes shows me that we have this idea that we are still enslaved, and people look at me that, oh, you're wearing a wrap on your head, you're acting like a slave, and you're this and you're whatever. And I'm like, really? What are you, instead of looking at me, what are you doing for your community? You know, and this is what happened to Jesus, right? They looked at him instead of looking at what he's doing for his community and how he's healing people and helping them. And I am not in any way comparing myself to Jesus, because I am not that Jesus. I am looking at how this realization that the power of Christ, the power of that Godhead, that Trinity of Trinities, that righteousness of righteous, the sacred one, no holes anywhere, right? We got, as Sarah said in from the View, ABC The View, they got some of the Catholic Church got some holes. You know, they talk about holy, holy, holy. Yeah, there's some holes, some scandalous parts of it. And the reality is what the reality is. I'm not making this up. And I begin by realizing that, you know, that righteousness is in the midst of it all. As according to Romans Romans 8 verse 28, all things are working together for the good. So when I see what's going on here, I don't like it. I see what's going on, I don't like it. I see what's going on, I don't like it. This administration, I don't like it. We need new leadership. I would like to see new leadership coming forward with thinking and come and get stuff done for the children in the community. Yes, we support the visitors that come here, but what about the children who live here and got to work? You want them to grow up and have another uprising? Come on now, we don't want that happening. Another, what happened on St. Croix at the golf course. You know, come on, let's teach children to love themselves by providing them the same attention. They're gonna look one day and see, well, wait a minute, why are you doing for this group and not for this group? Don't do that. So we look at the reality, and I look at how messy and I give it to the righteous of righteous. I lean into my faith that all things are working for good. When I can't understand why things happen the way they do, I claim a deeper understanding of the impermanence of the world and the changelessness of the righteous of righteous. Righteousness does not change, it's changeless. Righteous is right. Doing good is going to do good. That don't change. When you do good, that's it. That's don't change into something else. The world does with the my bad. Talking about my bad. What are you not bad? I told a little girl that when she came to me and said my bad. I was like, there's nothing bad about you. Why are you putting that on yourself, those words? Because it's the trend. It's what everyone else is speaking. Then that's the world. If you see everyone else, back away. Don't touch this. Like get away. Because the world is impermanent. The world is not permanent. No. So I trust divine order is assured in every moment and find myself relaxing as divine order unfolds. That's why I love order. I love cleanliness. I love things put in their places. And that's why I became a librarian. Not just to work in the library and be discriminated against by my own people, but to work in the library and to do what I love to do. Be around books, teach children about books, and families engaging in activities that can strengthen their minds and give them events that they can learn something from. Give them an attorney. Libraries have attorneys. They come out on Wednesdays or Mondays. They have attorneys that come and volunteer their time, and you can come and see these attorneys at the library. Why don't we have that? I had to pay $2,000 for an attorney to just tell me something on an email. The retainers are high. This attorney gave me a break, didn't charge me the 10 grand retainer. But attorneys are high, and families and communities here on the island don't have access to money like that and attorneys. So why can't that be something? I know you're all listening out there in the government, so here in the VI, because Epstein files are the big debate now, and Epstein has been linked to, not even linked, but bought an island in the Virgin Islands, got the people hoodwinked, went and colonized and pillaged and raped women, and all kinds of stuff was going on. And the government here sat back and watched it happen, and protected the pedophile. Yes, they protected this pedophile for years. So you know who you are protecting these folks. And because it's not happening to your children and it's happening to other people's children, don't mean it don't matter, and it shouldn't matter. It should matter because all children are our children. We are responsible for this humanity. We've been charged with the righteousness of righteous to do good and to impart goodness on others. So what are we doing? Government, you've taken the power away from the people. The government's supposed to be the people, but it's not. You've taken their power away little by little. You've done it. So now your time is up. This is what happens. So my sons have to change my ringtone. Yes, a lot of crooks tried to steal my heart. They did try to do that. So I have that ringtone. But anyway, we have this unfolding of relaxation when we trust in that divine order. So trust in it and be about it. I got to go because I gotta see if we're gonna have a workshop today because it's raining. We may not have one, but I'm gonna have to go down. I'm gonna have to make an executive decision with my team and decide whether we have one or not because it looks overcast and it's supposed to be raining on St. John, where I'm at. Yeah, Virgin Islands. Yes, indeed. So we have, rain. Rain Thursday. Yep, it's going to be raining today. Weather 6 mostly cloudy. Well, we should have it. We will still have our I'll still go there. The air quality is poor. So the weather here, what's happening? AccuWeather. I'm on AccuWeather. And the high is 91. So it's going to be hot today. It's going to be hot today on St. John. The morning is going to be 88. Humidity is high, 74%. 40% chance of rain. So it's going to rain in and out. We would love to be inside today, baking cookies with the children. That's one of the goals I have, is to have a center with a nice kitchen, that it's a child-friendly kitchen, that the children, because I see the children on the cooking shows they have with the children, and they're cooking all these delicious meals, and we could do the same thing at my center. And they're cooking, and preparing different foods. And the film and TV crew, they can film them and put them on their show, because upstairs I want to have this radio station, film, TV studio, not a Tyler Perry studio, but a little studio that we can do movies and stuff like that. My cousin always wanted to do movies, so this is going to be our opportunity. But anyway, the rain is not going to stop us, even though we're outside at the park. But as I said, one day we will have a center one day, and I know it's going to happen, because I know it's a lot of money. $5 million is a lot. However, it's $1 million for permits, attorneys, legal stuff, getting, things put on paper that this has been approved and licensed to be a facility of such and such and so, all that. That's going to be close to $1 million. Then the other 4 million, you have 1 million to put away in escrow in a foundation account that sits and gets interest, because you're going to use that as an emergency. Then the other 1 million is for salary for the first year. The first year salary, $50,000 a year, is what teachers are going to get. They get a nice package. They get $50,000 a year is their salary. They also get access to a family emergency fund that they can tap into if their families are in need of anything. This is important for people that work with me to be, able to work and not worry about money or worry about getting money and saying that, I shorted them or something. This family fund they'll have access to, and they can have anything that they need for their families so that they can come to work ready to work, and not worry about that other stuff. So there's 1 million. That's already what? That's already 3 million already, right? The 1 million for all the lawyers and permits and all that. Then the 1 million you put away. Then the 1 million for salaries for the first year. Everyone starts off at 50,000. Everyone, even the kitchen and the custodians. Plus, if you have a degree, you get 55,000. Or if, when possible, 60,000, depends on your degree program and all that. But that's the salary people should get here on the island. Teachers should start at 50,000. What is this 40,000? You can't live off of that here. You're gonna need another job and go on the strip pole and go, strip or dance on the side. Like my teacher, she has to strip on the side because she can't afford living in the Virgin Islands and teaching at salary. So $50,000 is my minimum pay. And people are qualified to work with children. They're qualified. If you're in the kitchen, you're qualified to talk to a child. You're qualified to have books available as a display in the kitchen. You can't touch the books in the kitchen and the cafeteria and eat with your books, but you can see them around you in displays, okay? Books should be visible for children. Why are we having blank walls around? Children should see books in the cafeteria, in the bathroom. They should see books in a display that's they can't access, but it's a displayed up high. When they're sitting on the potty, they can see the books. We need to have this happening. We need a revolution of literacy legacy. What legacy are we leaving is what we're asking. And I asked the government that. What legacy are you leaving? A legacy of lunacy? Sitting up there in a library talking about I smell like smoke. What does in here smell like? It smells like a bunch of mold. That's what it smells like up in here. So we have to return to the knowledge, this knowledge. And look at that, the rain has stopped. It's cooled off the island, and I'm gonna get ready to pack up and head out. Have a blessed day, everyone. And remember always to stand in love. Don't fall in it, please. And chant a psalm a day. Have you opened up your scripture today and read something? Blessed rise. We're not mourning. No more mourning. Have a blessed day. Blessed rise. Blessed rise. Take good care, everyone.